Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Dean Vaughn podcast show here in Las Vegas, Nevada. So I'm here to talk about music, and just like my podcast title says, it's all about music. So we're going to talk about songwriting, history of my music career. I will be having guests on the show periodically, talking to other producers, people in the recording industry, and other musicians. But first, I want to talk a little bit about my introduction. My name is Dean Vaughn. This is my new podcast show here in Las Vegas. I've been out here for about 8 months now. Love it. Beautiful, beautiful country out here. I'm a musician first. Yes, I love to record and perform music, especially when it comes to creating music. I've included my music biography in this first podcast. I didn't really mention too much about me in the intro. So just to give you a little bit more information on who I am and a little bit on my music career. So I started my career as a singer-songwriter, starting with the piano. I was only 4 years old. I think my piano teacher was like 100 or something. She passed away, so I went on to another instrument. That's what you do when your piano teacher passes away. Kidding. So by the age of 9, I was synchronizing drum beats. And around 8th, 9th, 10th grade, I decided to get in a rock band, and I slipped back into piano again. And somebody gave me a Farfisa organ. I don't know if you remember that. I think Joe Jackson played a Farfisa. It was like early 80s pop culture, the Farfisa was popping. And I got in a band called Aftershock. I think it was my 14th birthday, something like that. And these guys were like 5-6 years older than I was, 14, so they were like 20. They were old men. And I went over to the lead guitar player's house. He was in West Covina, California. His name was Bruce Powler. He turned out to be a Jimi Hendrix Beatles fan. Great guitar player and singer, by the way. And so we started this band, Aftershock. They had a singer when I got there, but he quickly left. He didn't last too long. And for some reason, I'm skipping over a few things, but I ended up singing for the band and playing keys. So Bruce, we got in the band, looked for a bass player, and we found Mark Canada. He is now in Chicago. And Mark turned out to be my glue for the future projects, because Mark stayed with me through Aftershock, Danger, all the way up till the end. And I have a whole nother story with Mark, but that's probably another podcast. So I got the opportunity to write some songs with Mark and Bruce, and later Mark Macy joined the band. Great drummer. Probably one of the best drummers I've played with out there. And Mark could do just about anything on the drums, so whatever I was writing, he definitely brought to life. Mark Macy was a percussionist and a vocalist as well. And sometimes Mark Macy would come out front and sing, and since I'm a drummer, I'd go back and play the drums. It was awesome. So, and did I mention I'm a drummer? That was my first instrument at the age of 4. So back to when I got started composing music, I was just fresh out of high school and began playing professional gigs at the age of 16. By 17, Aftershock had recorded its first single, High as a Kite and Under My Skin. The group Aftershock consisted of Bruce Powler on lead guitars, Mark Canada on bass, guitar and vocals, and Rick Martella on the drums and percussion. And let's not forget, he sang as well, like Macy did on the front stage, and I played the drums. And I have to also mention our infamous sound engineer, Andrew Waterman. He's also another podcast. I don't have time to talk about him. But Aftershock went on to become very popular in the late 80s, mostly played in the SoCal areas, and we were regulars in the Hollywood down on Sunset Strip. Headlined the Roxy, headlined Gazzari's, we were the house band there. The Troubadour, the Whiskey, we played all the regular clubs in Hollywood. Aftershock had played a split of covers and originals, and I started writing music in Aftershock. After about 9 years with Aftershock, the music playlist was getting more aggressive, and rock and roll was, getting harder. Hard rock, I mean. Bands like Daryl Hall and John Oates had split up. I think it was around 87. And it seemed like to me an era, was ending and another era was beginning. And so I began to lean towards hard rock. And in the bands, when we were playing the Whiskey and Gazzari's, there was a change in personnel because we just weren't, we needed a little bit harder sound. So we ended up getting another guitar player and calling the band Danger. That was after about 9 or 10 years. So that went about. I started writing more aggressively in Danger because I had the opportunity. Me and Mark would hang together and write tunes together and sing. He was a good harmonizer as well, as a bass player. And we started writing songs like, Can't Keep My Eyes Off of You, which is now in 60,000 jukeboxes in USA and Canada. Crazy Like Me went on to, that was more of an acoustic ballad. Tramp In Black Leather, hard rock, blues number. And I'm Gonna Miss You, another great acoustic song. And I remember doing that in Cabo Wabo, San Lucas. Sammy Hagar was there that night. And Van Halen invited us out to play Cabo Wabo, San Lucas, Cabo Wabo Cantina. And they would bring a band in from LA about every month and headline the Cabo Wabo Cantina to entertain the guests from the cruise ship and most of the visitors in Mexico. So, without drifting off into that story, that's another podcast. That was a blast. Came back, and that was the end of Danger, and I went on to do some other things and got with a group called No Stranger. That was a great lineup. Again, another podcast. So on with my bio. My mom was a professional entertainer, singer, big band like Kate Smith. She was in Las Vegas, played with Liberace. Kate Smith went on to do some great things in Las Vegas. And that's probably where I got my start in music. So anyway, started writing a lot of songs in Danger. I play all the string instruments and percussion, but never crossed over into the wind instrument category. But I do play some harmonica, and not sure why, but I love the sound of all wind instruments, especially the sax. Love the tenor and alto sax. Awesome. So I got into podcasting recently and thought it would be a great way to cross-promote my other ventures. Music will always be my main focus. Through this podcast platform, it will help me to communicate better through social media. So I got into podcasting recently and thought it would be a great way to cross-promote my other ventures. Music will always be my main focus. So as I progress with my new podcast show, I begin to venture into the podcast world, your feedback will be the backbone for my learning and getting better at this. So I hope you guys get to chime in. Send me a message. I think you can message me on Spotify, or Anchor. And that song you're hearing playing behind me is a song I just wrote. And I just took out the vocals and some of the harmonies and some of the lead parts so, it could have a little background music. It's my new song, which I can't wait to finish. I'm going back in the studio with that one. And so I got into podcasting to cross-promote, my music career. What a great way. And people always say, Dean, you need to get out there and talk. Talk about your music. Where are you? What are you doing? What are your plans? I have this comedian friend of mine, and we kind of go back and forth. His name's Tom. And he said, that shit ain't funny. And I go, I ain't dead yet. So I'm still playing music, you know. I'm still on this planet. I'm going to do some music, and I think music is uplifting to a lot of people, and you can get a message into music. Unlike politics. Don't really care much. So, hopefully I can continue to grow and learn in this industry. I want to have some guests on my show. As I become more popular, maybe somebody will come on and want to talk a little bit about their career, and their music and their experience. That's kind of what I'm looking for on the show, is interaction. So I can't wait to see the results, and thank you for visiting my podcast today. I really do appreciate it. And I just added a video to this podcast show, so we'll see how that turns out. I'm using my GoPro, but I have some other equipment I can use, but I'm just kind of testing it out right now. So if I put it up, I put it up. If I don't, anyway, if I don't, I don't. So bear with me as I venture forward into the world of podcasting. And so on my next podcast show, and I do have some notes here, I wanted to talk a little bit about the next one. If I can find these. That goes. All you computer guys out there. I'm running a Mac. Everything likes to disappear on me when I'm looking at it. So on my next podcast show, I will be going back and talking about my first single with Aftershock. And Bruce Paller's out there. I just talked to him yesterday on Facebook. And again, another show. Stay on track, Dean. So the first time I heard my music, I think I was with Bruce, on KLOS Radio. If you remember the 80s KLOS, Mark and Brian show. And they were playing, it was like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, midnight. I was at this backyard party, just hanging out. And here it comes. And they played Nevermind on the radio. For the first time, I got to hear my song on the radio. And man, I said, hey, quiet, everyone. Stop talking. My song is on the radio. Imagine trying to tell everyone at a backyard party to stay quiet. Yeah, good luck. And that was about the time, so to give you a reference point, Motley Crew, my friend Tommy, who I went to school with, I'll talk about that a little bit. He got in a band called Motley Crew, and for whatever reason, I was hearing them 10, 15, 20 times a day on, I think it was KMET, KLOS, KNAC, whatever rock radio stations back in the 80s. And I was in again, Southern California. And I'm hearing Motley Crue over and over and over. I go, what the hell did they pay those guys? You know, there's a program director back in the radio station days. I think there still is program directors. And I heard some stories, and Tommy went in to visit the program director and came out of his office with major rotation on KLOS. And that was kind of the beginning and the story behind them. And I was also getting airplay, but not like that. Not like that. That was crazy. So, and I did some interviews on some college stations, KSAC Radio, KSAC. College, Chapman College, they had a program where they would learn how to be DJs, and I got to be their guinea pig one day. I think we did a video at that college as well, and they got to practice on us, and it really turned out nice, but I never got to see it. I don't know what happened to that video. I think it was Nevermind we did that video under. So, so my friend Tommy, right, he's a drummer. He was the triton player in Royal Oak High School. I was the snare drum player. Me and him both got ousted of Royal Oak High School at the same time and went over to Charter Oak Continuation. So those of you in the Covina, West Covina area know those schools very well. Again, I graduated in 81. So I used to go over to Tom's house and listen to him play all the time, and man, what a great drummer, you know. You're not hearing anything in the Motley Crew album. He started getting major rotation, and then Motley Crue made it big, and I'm still headlining shows in Hollywood, but you know, man, they took off like a rocket. And this story will be told on a future podcast. It's too much to talk about. Great way to get it out there through my podcast show. Hope you all enjoy it. And be looking for my next podcast show. This is more of an introduction, but I will be going back in time when I recorded my first record. So hope you all enjoy it. Be good people. Be happy and healthy. And this is Dean Vaughn from the Dean Vaughn Podcast Show, signing out.